I definitely don't want to be that podcast that starts off being like, hey guys, welcome back to Civitas.
It's us.
It's us. It's the podcast. There's a lot of like, let's just cut to the shit. Just building this fucking... I do not apologize for this swearing, but I do apologize for this swearing. Let's cut straight to the shit. Building this fucking place was a good time. It was a good time and the shittest time ever.
It was literally everything. It was absolute chaos. Kind of rewarding, a little bit.
Kind of rewarding.
Small
wins,
obliterated bodies. And
fuck now, I never want to be a tradie.
I don't know how they do it.
Nah, like maybe a bit of carpentry here and there, but not like a full-time gig.
No. Jip rocking can suck my ass.
Jip rocking can fucking die. Let's kick that out of the fucking window right now. Jip rocking can go die.
It is the what? I don't know how anyone wants to do that.
It's not so much gluing the sheets on or sticking the sheets on. That's easy. The little fucking cracks, hey?
Little cracks. Cutting it, sucked.
Oh,
joining it. Using the bucket, scraping it on, sanding it.
Yeah, how's the fucking when we're halfway through jip rocking some shit, friends Dicko and Barnes came in and they were like, yo, you're not meant to be cutting jip rock with a fucking circular saw.
After we'd done it, like, we were pretty much like 80% done and they're like, what are you doing? Because we had the little Ryobi angle grinder out with, I'm pretty sure, a tile cutting bit on it.
Yeah.
Cutting it, which didn't work that bad, to be honest.
It worked.
It just made everything disgusting.
Yeah.
And they're like, what are you doing? We've never seen anyone do that ever. And we're like, oh, guess it works.
Yeah, we're just built different.
Let's give it a go.
Built different. We're building different. But we ended up getting it done, of course, clearly for anyone that has been in the shop is done. Let's just cut straight into, let's talk about the worst shit. Jacob, what do you feel like was the worst experience for you for this build?
I think it was the most frustrating part was waiting on other people.
Yeah.
Because like we did probably 60% of the actual trades ourselves.
Yeah.
So we did the painting, the jip rocking,
laying the concrete, tiling the walls.
Tiling.
Except for tiling the floor.
Yeah, Lewis did the floors. And there's little odd jobs here and there. So I think like with that stuff, it got to the point where we were waiting on other people to like come in and get stuff done when they said they were going to, but just never did. And that was the most frustrating part because we knew that like we were willing to sacrifice time to come in here and just smash it out.
Yeah.
But you can't really force people into doing stuff. I mean, we learned that we kind of had to push hard.
Yeah.
And they'd get it done. But being out of our control, that was the most frustrating part.
Yeah, I think like the most, of course, those things were out of our control in a way, but the biggest annoying thing was the window. And look, I'm not going to throw the company under the bus. Like I'll tell people person to person, but if we're going to put this up online and a couple of people are going to watch it, I'm not going to throw them under the bus. But people that we got the window to do, they just delayed it. They overpromised and underdelivered. Even now that we had to even adjust the window ourselves because it was like the latch wasn't working properly. And like they just dropped the ball and we ended up, at the end of the day, I sent them a nice little email saying, look, I'm not happy with these services. I'm not going to pay it. Pay the remainder amount. And they ended up putting their finger out the bum and ended up doing it that week. But even then I said, look, I don't feel like I ended up getting a discount off it, which is cool. They kind of won me back a little bit, but at the same time, I'm not going to go back.
No, well, I think like to a certain extent, like they quoted it 2.5 months before they actually did it.
Yeah.
And they said from the beginning that it was going to be done in, I believe, January. And then it came to that day and there was just like no communication at all.
Yeah.
And then every time we'd ask what was going on, they'd be like, oh, it's the supplier. And then eventually a month later put it in and it wasn't right. It was too high. And then tried to blame us for it. And then by then we were just over it. And then we had to modify it a bit because it just didn't close. And it's an expensive window. Like it is what it is, but...
Yeah, it wasn't like $100. It was like $1,000.
Yeah. And we couldn't do anything about the cafe section until that window was in. Signage couldn't go up.
No.
We couldn't build a bench.
It was holding a lot of shit up.
Yeah, and that was the last push for us where we were willing to come in and just get everything done, and pretty much everything else was finished up until that point. So we were kind of just sitting here doing nothing, waiting for them to come in a month later than they should have.
Yeah.
Only to deliver a window that sucked. And like the owner came back and he apologized and he said that that's not how they run the company. And I think to a certain extent, it was just the guy that we were dealing with for the most part.
For sure.
But it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. But let's backtrack. Let me tell you a bit of the story of where and how we got to what we call Civitas Terrigal now. Of course, we're going to talk about the build, but there is also a story behind why we moved into this place. Of course, when we first started the private studio, what you would know on Campbell Crescent, when Jacob and I first started there, literally the first day or the second day, we were like, yo, what's next? And that's when we began to manifest this idea of what we have now, the Civitas Terrigal. Over a couple of, I think maybe I'm going to go off a feeling, the first kind of 2-3 months, we were like still growing the private studio. We're learning marketing, kind of like, doing all that kind of stuff. But in the back of our minds, like going, okay, where are we going? What do we want to do?
Well, within those first 3 weeks, I remember we had our opening day, and then the day after, we were like sitting there recapping the night and like, okay, cool. Like, what next? I remember we literally said that standing out the front of the shop.
Yeah.
And 3 weeks after we opened, we closed because of COVID and all of that, which is that happened and it's gone. Within those 3 weeks, it was when we were walking back to the car park every afternoon, there was an empty shop next to where Love and Tonic is.
Yeah, which now Alot is in there.
And they're just down the road on the other side of the road. Very similar size.
Yeah, just a different layout.
Just a little bit of a different layout. And it's been empty for ages. And we kept walking past it every day and being like, oh, like it'd be cool to be in a big spot like that. And I remember we threw out the idea of replacing one of the windows and putting the
like a
cafe sort of thing in there. And then we entertained the idea of the bar as well, and kind of kept thinking about it. And we even went into the shop next door just to suss it out and see what the layout was like. Because we knew they had a back room and a bathroom. We kind of played with the idea.
Yeah.
And then, we closed for COVID for a month.
Yeah, it was a month. We decided to close for COVID.
Yeah.
And that's when we I think, without intentionally kind of thinking about this place, we started getting in our mind like where we wanted to go. And I think that month that we had off was a big lesson for us. We learned how to do podcasting, of course. Now we're here. We will upgrade the gear as we go. I don't really give a shit about that kind of stuff. It's just about posting the content and having the value there. But we learned about it. We tested and learned. We discussed ideas. We discussed plans and movement where we're going to take the private studio before we have Civitas. And we kept growing. We always had that idea of being the private studio is more than a barbershop. And that's why we wanted to run events and have people be able to come down and just hang out without getting a haircut, right? And that's why, but the thing is, we got stuck in this trap of being like, we're just a barbershop. And we were just a barbershop in a way. Of course, we couldn't really cater for, as much as we wanted to say, we just couldn't cater for people being able to come down. We did a couple of things like the Friday night, the TPS Fridays, when we had a DJ in there. That first night we ever did that, it was pumping. Yeah, that was sick. I was I think it was 20 people in an 18 to 20 square meter room. Everyone got a meter to themselves.
While we were cutting hair.
Yeah. And that was cool. Clearly now, if you haven't been in the shop, and for the people that have, can understand that we can actually cater for that on a real professional level now. We're literally sitting, for people that are watching this, we're sitting in a DJ booth built for a DJ.
Events and parties and
Whereas over there, we kind of had to cram the DJ in the corner where the fucking hair wash basin was.
Move the table that they were at to get into the fridge.
Exactly right. We'd have to move the fucking table.
Yeah, it was sick.
It was cool. And I don't... That was fun. Sometimes I kind of miss that.
Well, it was definitely, when we first had that idea, I remember entertaining the idea of that other spot And we said, maybe after a year of being in the studio, we'll start to think about that.
Yeah.
And that kind of like was like, okay, cool. We'll forget about it for the moment because we can't do anything about it. We've been over for 3 months or 2 months at that point.
Yeah.
And then we got talking to, it would have been with Strategic. I think we mentioned that we wanted to do that, and they said like, look, this was probably a year ago or less.
Yeah.
But he was like, they were like, look, you're at that position where there's no point waiting. You may as well pursue something like that now rather than later.
It was a good little push.
Yeah. And that kind of got it in our heads of like, okay, well, maybe we can do it, even though we've only been open for 5 months at that point.
Yeah.
And then everything in there became a test for this.
Exactly right. And like we were very lucky. Of course, we worked very hard. We were very lucky to have experience in barbershops beforehand where we could build the barber clientele up a lot quicker, which is really cool. Didn't feel any kind of doubt that we wouldn't. But when we started thinking about it, for me personally, even for today, like even where I'm at right now, I wanted to move outside of just being a barber and being a barbershop. I want to just be able to provide value. And this all adds into why we built Civitas is, it wasn't just because, we're just going to flex on people. Like, this place isn't kind of like, hey, we're just going to build this really cool place just to be like, fuck, we have this cool place. It's like we actually built it in the mindset of utilizing each space to the best of its ability to cater experiences for humans. And that's why we've got, our slogan being for humans. Because Jake and I strongly believe that we just want to cater for everyone, not just men, but for women as well. Like, why not? There's a lot of masculinity around barbershops and, how women aren't allowed to be in a barbershop, especially if you get a woman coming in to get a short haircut.
Which happens regularly.
Yeah. We have regular clients that come in and are women.
Yeah.
And Hayley's a woman. She's a barber. She's a part of it. And it doesn't mean, it shouldn't change the dynamic. But anyway, so that's like a small slither of why we've built this as well too. So going in back to what Jake was talking about when Strategic kind of gave us that little push, it made us believe that we could do it. And we started looking into shit. Hey, we started going, okay, like if we're going to do this, how we're going to do this, know? And
we started that planning stage and looking around. And I think like the first part of that stage was looking for a space. And pretty much as soon as we started looking for a space, we got in contact with the real estate, and that space that we're looking at was gone.
Yeah.
Probably the week that we actually approached them.
But I never actually, like, when that came up, and I'm sure you're the exact same as well, like when they were like, oh no, it's already gone, I was like, okay, well, where else? Let's have a look.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't like, oh, okay, let's give up.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's what's gone. Give up. Because we were like, we always determined to kind of keep growing and keep doing our thing.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have been in the position that we're in with the private studio if we had that mindset either of just like, oh, things are too hard. And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of very, very, very hard things in this shop and the process that I think anyone would have turned around and been like, what are we doing?
Cases.
But we got so deep into it that we couldn't just turn out. So we were just doing whatever we could to get it going. But at the time, that wasn't a concern at all. It was just like, all right, well, where else is there?
Yeah,
and because of COVID, there was so many empty spaces in Terrigal.
There was. And now there's not really.
No, and they've mostly been filled, and this space had just come up, and we came and had a look at it. I think we originally looked at the very end one, or thinking about the very end one.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool.
But it was just a weird layout for a barbershop. Had great exposure, but it was just a weird layout. This is supposed to be 4 buildings on this side, or 4 individual spots on this side. At the time, there was no walls. It was just massive.
No, so it was so open, and you had the option to... be able to take more than one spot too as well. We could have taken 2 shops. Of course, that would have been ridiculous.
Yeah.
But just as a kind of, for knowledge and people to kind of be like, oh, that would have been cool. Milky Lane, for instance, if anyone knows where Terrigal is, Milky Lane was actually possibly going to go next door. There was actually negotiations on that. They would have they would have taken 3 shops and we would have taken the next shop next to it, and that would have been a fucking mad time.
Yeah. Because at the time it was a rumor and we'd heard of that, but there wasn't really anything. There's a lot of spots, but nothing to facilitate them.
Yeah.
And we asked the real estate agent when we were in here, like, has anyone else looked at any of the others? And he's like, some place called Milky Lane or something. Looking at the other 3. And we're like, you and I looked at each other like, that would be sick.
That would be mad.
And they were struggling trying to find, as far as I'm aware, they were struggling to find something that was a big enough space, but in the right location. Obviously, they want that water view, Esplanade.
They're in the perfect spot.
Oh, their spot's sick.
Yeah, so sick.
But yeah, I think like this spot had just come up and it kind of fit exactly what we needed, and it already came furnished with like the bathroom, and this room out the back was already done, and it was supposed to be a kitchen, but we just ripped that out and cut a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
And built this wall, and it pretty much just went from there.
Yeah, it was a fucking wild time, and just like thinking about it right now, like when you were talking about it before though, like when you were like, fuck, there was some really, really hard times.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking back to it, and I think this is just my mentality of how it is. It wasn't like, it was hard because we've never done it before, but now I'm like, that was actually quite easy.
Yeah.
Like,
it was hard because it was scary.
Yeah, it was scary. It's scary as fuck. Even now, it's still scary as fuck.
Yeah.
But I definitely have more hair on my balls, which I don't. I shave my balls. Going forward, I'm like, I could actually set up a company heaps easier now. I understand what goes into setting up a shop. Like, I do get it. You know, we've applied for our liquor license, and a lot of people are like, is that really hard to do? It's not. It actually not. Like, I spent like 2 hours here the other day doing it, and I was like, this wasn't actually as hard as getting a different kind of license could be a little bit, it's more time consuming than anything. But the thing is, like, we build up in our minds so much, and like, use this as a bit of a motivation or inspiration, like that things like this are near impossible to get.
Yeah.
You and I don't know fucking shit about shit. No. I might have a little bit more experience in that business world, but not much more than you. But we kind of just go, okay, fuck it. Let's just go for it. Figure the shit out.
Yeah.
Because we just believed it was going to work.
Oh, for sure. And that was like, that's that whole positive mindset and being around people that are positive and that sort of thing. It's a massive part of everything. And
that's why I want to, like, in previous videos as well, like, we're very lucky that Jacob and I see eye to eye on a lot of things. There's no ever like, through the periods of the time of doing this shop, there was no frustration. There was no, we've never argued. We've never anything like that, which is we're very lucky because we both understand the vision and we're going towards that vision together. Yeah. I think I may have lost my shit maybe 2 or 3 times, but it wasn't even that bad. It was just overbuilding. Like,
it was just frustrating.
It was frustrating because it was like the fucking jit rock was falling off. Fuck the jit rock, hey, like, and I'd like. But I wasn't angry at him. I wasn't angry at... I was just like, holy fuck me, I'm so pissed off with this shit right now. I was tired, exhausted, like, mentally drained, physically drained, just trying to get it happening. We would hit speed bumps where we're like, fuck, we've run out of money. What do we do?
Yeah.
But we figured it out. We fucking did figure it out.
But that's that whole... It's that whole mindset of like, in the beginning we knew it was going to work and there was no doubts about that. And it's that whole, like, being in that positive mindset from the beginning. There was literally no option of just it not working in our heads. It could have not, but in our heads we were convinced that it was going to work because you have to have that mentality. Otherwise you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, like, and 100%. And it sounds so cliche and you probably heard it from a lot of different people like that are fucking famous or whatever like that. But you got to be a little bit of a nutcase to do this shit. I don't think I'm a nutcase. I think I'm just living the life that I want to live. But people think it's crazy. Like, people are like, oh, you were only doing the private shoot for a year and now you're expanding into this thing. And it's just like, yeah, I guess, like, it's crazy, but it's
like, and it's like,
you know what I mean? We just put the work in.
Most people are afraid of risk.
Yeah.
Understandably so. I'm still afraid of risk, but it's that.
We all are.
You've got to, it's easy to look at the private studio and be like, that's safe. Don't do anything. Like, why would you expand and go somewhere else that's risky?
Yeah.
But that was also a risk. You know what I mean? It's like we wouldn't have been there unless we took that risk and did it.
But the risk as well, like what you're talking about there, it's the private share would have been a risk if we did stay, because what happens is we were that busy. Even if like Hayley was pretty much 75 nearly booked out, like 75% booked out most of the time, and she was building up her clientele. We were booked out all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like every week. And we like still are quite busy here and stuff like that, as people are still trying to find where we're at. But we would have got to a point where we couldn't have fit more chairs in there. No. It would have just been us three there all the time.
Yeah, and we've stuck.
And we would have stuck, and we would have to turn clients down, and we would have just hit a ceiling.
Yeah.
Like, what else are we meant to do in that shop with 3 chairs?
Oh, for sure. But like the point I'm getting at is that it's easy for people to look at something that's already established and think that it's not a risk, and that doing something else is a risk. But you got to think about, before we started that, people also thought it was a risk. And then before you moved into Louis Loop, it was also a risk.
Yeah.
But it's not until it's there and people can see it that they can see the same thing that we're seeing. In our heads, this was built and it was pumping and we knew what was going to happen. Yeah. But you've got to have that mentality in the get-go that it's going to work no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. We made it work no matter what little things came up with money, or little things with the like food stuff that we didn't realize we needed to do that pushed us back even more and more and more. Yeah. But it's that whole mindset of like, if you've already given up before you've tried, what's the point?
Yeah.
The same reason people were like, why are you doing a cafe in Terrigal? Because we believed in it.
Yeah, it exactly isn't right. And we still believe in it. And like, even to this day, I even send something in the we have a Slack message group and stuff like that, about just adapting and evolving, because we believe it's going to work.
Yeah.
Yes, the shop's built, but we're still building.
Yeah.
Like every day, it's not physically being built by like putting walls up and shit. We're building that brand. We're building, and what we're doing here is we're starting this and we're building this, and yes, we'll have frustrations with that. But yeah, as you're saying, like, you know, we just won't give the fuck up, and that's why we will succeed. Is because we won't give the fuck up.
Yeah.
We will just keep going until we fucking bleed and die. Like, and that's the mentality we have, and that's the mentality we had going through building this shop, didn't we?
Yeah.
And even saying this right now is a bit of a therapy session. Going through that build together really, of course, brought us closer together. Not just as like friends, but of course business partners, but also strengthening. Like, I would rather be going through building the cafe up than building this shop.
Yeah. Like
physically. Because I know in time, like it's just easier. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it seems so much easier because you've got that resilience of, okay, yeah, it's food. So many other people have done food before. We kind of just copy a little bit here and there, put our inspiration to it, our creativity to it. It's good. But here we were literally creating. There's nothing that I can see that is like this shop anywhere else. You know, there's aspects of it. Don't get me wrong. Oh fuck. I have to turn the camera off and then back on.
Camera's on.
Welcome back to part 2. We were creating something from different inspirations. Like we have, so the whole concept of this, if you don't understand what we do here in Terrigal for Civitas Terrigal, where we're going, of course, we're still rolling things out as we go, but we are a style bar with a cafe and a bar as well as a barbershop. We are 4 different things. We're a venue. We're not a barbershop. We are not just a cafe.
No.
We are a venue. And I think that's where we got to get to is because there's a lot of places that have like a blow bar, for instance, right? There's a place in Sydney called Blow Bar. Really, really cool thing, but it's just catered for women, you know, and that's it. And then there's like, of course, so many barbershops. There's barbershops and a cafe. There's all that kind of thing, but they haven't molded these 4 things together. I don't know where the fuck that else. I've seen maybe a little bit of, like I saw in Sydney, there's like maybe barber and blow bar thing, but there's still yet again no blow bar, cafe and bar.
Yeah.
Those 4 elements, those 4 different businesses running as one. That's why what we went through, we created something that's unique.
And that's why it was so hard and so scary, is because we couldn't look at someone and go, okay, that works, so we're going to do the same thing. And even then, like the whole process that we went through from working on it from the get-go to now, the amount of stuff behind the scenes that happened before we even walked in here was huge
Yeah.
to the point where it's like we're not worried about anyone coming in and doing the same thing because they're going to have to start from the first thing and then work the whole way through it. By then we're already
built.
Yeah.
Already, like, if someone tried to replicate this, we were already months ahead.
exactly right.
And that's the thing. Even now, like, we're still months ahead. We've
sure.
got shit that's going to roll out, not just for Civitas, but for this brand. We are Civitas. This is not even the tip of the iceberg. It's the fucking little snowflake that's hitting the tip of the iceberg. I'm super excited. Like, yeah.
Do we want to very briefly go through the physical build in order of what happened and the little things that came up along the way?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, let's do that. But like quickly, I will mention that we do have about 5 to 6 part episode coming out on YouTube very soon. I've got all the footage. We've documented the whole thing. I've also documented the first kind of couple of weeks before we even got the shop, talking to solicitors, talking to insurance, talking to all that kind of stuff. So you can get to see a little bit behind the scenes of that. But as soon as we got the keys, when the first night we hopped in here and got the fucking... So...
Oh, no. I forgot about that.
Okay. That was the
PTSD.
shittest thing.
Yeah.
That was the shittest thing.
Yeah.
I'd rather build the fucking concrete bench tops in here than de-nail the fucking timber we got, because we thought, okay, we're going to save... I would have just rather bought fucking timber, to be honest.
Looking back at it now, yes.
Yeah. So going into this, so I guess I'll kickstart this one, because this is the first thing of it. Once we got the keys, once the solicitors, we spoke to like this with the leasing and all that kind of stuff, we started the build. So we wanted to try and save as much money as possible.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of this podcast, we'll tell you how much we've kind of spent. So keep an eye out for this. Keep an ear out and an eye out for that. So when we first started, especially because we learned a little bit of private studio, we wanted to save as much money as possible. So we had a friend that's a demo guy, right? He's demolition. He's like, oh, I can get some timber for you. I was like, yeah, Matt, because he demos houses. It's like, fucking earth, let's go. Save a bit of money, maybe save like $1,500 or some shit.
Yeah.
We ended up getting that, and the amount of fucking nails.
It was a half a house.
Shit rock.
I think he said it was half a house of timber.
Yeah.
With nails and gyprock and random glues, pieces of metal.
Yeah.
That we had to transport from your house.
Oh, yeah. I got footage of that too,
which permanently bent your roof racks and would bounce seeing all over the place. So we pretty much had half a house on your roof.
That was so good.
And then we knew that we had... Dicko was coming in to do all the carpentry stuff.
That week. Yeah.
So I think we had 2 or 3 nights to actually smash all that out whilst working at the studio.
Yeah. That was probably the hardest thing, because what happened was it was just there was no window to like, it was so hot.
Oh, it was disgusting.
So that was coming in October. Was it November?
It was November. Yeah,
November, summertime.
Yeah.
There's no airflow in here. We still haven't got aircon, but we kind of got away with a few things. But anyway, we ended up getting that. We saved a bit of money, which is cool. But denailing, man, it sucked. We ended up having to buy a little bit of timber, not much. I guess we did save a bit of money.
Oh, we definitely would have.
But the amount of money we did spend on this shit,
it wasn't really worth that.
We should just fucking spend
that effort. Yeah,
like it's just like,
thinking to like the final figure of kind of roughly how much we spent on stuff. That amount of money that we saved by going through all that hell wasn't worth it. No. Like that $1,000 or whatever we saved on using that
compared to how much we spent
is like dollars and cents.
It fucking is.
To the point where we should have just bought it. Yeah.
Because it would have just like, we probably would. But at the same time, of course, we can't really say that's going to, it just built us. That's the mentality we're going into this shop. And that's the mentality we have. It's not so much that we did it, but like the mentality is like, we're going to fucking make this happen no matter what.
Exactly right, yeah.
And the first thing we started doing is fucking denailing pieces of wood from a fucking house.
Yeah.
That could have been built 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That are in this house.
Yeah.
In this shop. Then what did we move on to after? So Dicko built the shop.
Yeah.
Dicko
company. What are they? Not all aspects. Creative build carpentry.
Yeah.
Nailed it. Absolute legends.
Literally.
So they came in, did all the framework. And then
Yeah, they built the frame at the back here and so that black wall that you see is like a service wall, so all the pipes and stuff are running through that. That's when we got the plumbers in.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting the plumb. So we got a quote of someone, and then we ended up getting a quote from someone else, and we ended up getting the people that have actually done the plumbing for this building.
The whole building, yeah.
So they knew where shit was, and they ended up saving us a bit of money. Especially with the build with the plumbing, we hit that's when we first. I think that's when we first hit our first problem.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, we want to do this shit legit. They did the plumbing, they did a bit of core drilling, so like whatever. But then for the cafe, you need a floor wastage.
Yeah, like a food prep area, you need a floor wastage drain.
Yeah, floor wastage drain. And I literally had an argument with the plumber being like, you need this. And he was like, no, you don't.
Yeah, and we're like, we will pay you to do it. And he's like, no, don't need it.
No, don't need it. I'm like, okay. And then I remember when we went to Mumbo's for...
Yeah.
I think Hannah was there anyway.
Yeah.
Went to Mumbo's one time. I think it was for our Christmas party. No, it was for our Christmas party. Some guy from the council called. He's like, yeah, you need it.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So we ended up getting that happening, and it cost us a little bit more extra money, but it was actually not too bad, to be honest. It was less than what we got quoted from another person.
It's a ridiculous amount of money for a hole in the floor, but when you understand kind of what they're doing, it kind of makes sense. It's just a really shit job.
Okay, so we spent $11,000 on plumbing, right?
Yeah.
11 grand. 11 grand.
On some pipes.
But it's not the most expensive thing we bought.
No.
We'll get to that in a moment.
So they drilled through the floor into the underground car. There's an underground car park under here.
Yeah.
And then ran the pipe for that. Because the only other drain is where we are now, yeah?
Yeah,
underneath
so
this
pretty
floor.
much underneath us is where the other drain is. I'm just going to plug this computer in. Keep talking.
So we needed to run... We pretty much needed a drain for the very other end of the shop, but there wasn't one till here. So we couldn't just sweep the water down there. The whole idea of having a drain there is so that if you have a spill or something leaks or whatever, we can push it down there, which is great.
Exactly
it
right.
works.
Yeah. It looks sick.
Yeah. I think the electricians came in next and just did all the wiring and got everything set up ready, I'm pretty sure. So they didn't hang any lights or anything because we have these really nice pendant lights and they would have just got disgusting from all the dust. And then
we didn't do lighting for ages, eh?
Nah, that was like one of the last things.
Yeah.
They ran all the electricity.
Yeah, they ran all that. It was really cool and shit like that. And then we moved on to the
benches?
the bench tops, yeah. I must say the bench tops were the funnest thing, and for me personally, it was the funnest thing. I learned a lot from it. Satisfying, but also very hard.
Yeah.
It was a very hard task, but it was, at the end of the day, it was actually quite satisfying.
Yeah.
What we built. And if you haven't seen the shop, of course, we can go to our Instagram. If you have been in the shop, anything that you see concrete, we built. Except
so there's the bench at the very front for the bar, which is technically two pieces.
Yes.
There's the long one that runs the entire way of the wall, which is all one piece.
Yeah.
And then there's the freestanding one that we also built.
That's freestanding, the one for the makeup. It's not attached to the wall.
Yeah, because the barber one's anchored into the concrete wall behind it.
Yeah.
Which we almost screwed up by drilling the whole way through. But we were okay with that.
Yeah, it's all right. Lucky our landlord's beautiful.
Yeah.
Good man.
And then the other one we had to build the legs for, which was the scariest part for us. We had to build the legs and build the frame and then pour it all in.
Oh,
and
for
hope that it didn't.
one.
Yeah. And hope that it didn't all leak out. But that came out phenomenal.
Nick's handiwork of being a kitchen cabinet maker.
Exactly
back in the day. I'm a weapon with a fucking nail gun, for sure.
Nailed it. Literally,
nailed it for sure. And that was fun. We had a lot of help. We had help from friends and stuff like that. We've got, of course, footage and documented that a little bit. And that was cool. Like, we ended up... like so much to unpack, because it wasn't just like, we did that and that was easy. Like, there's things like we went to Bunnings.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, we didn't know what kind of concrete. Lucky the people at Bunnings were so lovely.
Yeah.
We went there super late, like 6:30 at night.
I think it was literally about they closed the gate as we drove into the trade section.
Yeah.
We had to
I was gonna
ask for them to let us in.
Yeah. I was like, because we just wanted to get it done.
Yeah.
And I was gonna borrow a trailer. I was driving so he had his ute, but I had my fucking Corolla. It's a weapon.
The work ute.
The work ute. It's fucking work ute for sure. I was gonna tow the concrete because we were just going to put a pallet on there. Pallet doesn't fit on the back of the ute. We're like, fuck, we'll try and make it easy and we'll do it. Anyway, they had like a heavy duty trailer. It was so much weight on my car already. And we would have put a fucking ton of, like, it would have fucked my car, to be honest. I honestly would have killed it.
Yeah.
But they ended up helping us out. They were like, look, we have this new kind of concrete that is actually for concrete bench tops.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a stronger PSI than construction concrete. It's usually 25 PSI for construction. For this stuff, it's 50, which is hectic. And we ended up getting these bags and we ended up just hand loading them into the back of the ute. And but we didn't get enough. We had to go get another 20, I think it was. But even then, so like fast forward a little bit, hear that pumping music. Hopefully you can't pick that up now. So it's F45 going right now. So we ended up having to get another 20 bags. I've just fast forward a little bit. If you see the little doco type series thing, you understand what we're talking about. And then we were building the last bench. That was the barber bench. Like we had enough for the freestanding with the bar was fine, all that kind of shit. We'll fucking like get it. We hired a mixer and we were like fucking getting this big bucket. Like we literally broke 3 buckets, but like we just poured it into a fucking bucket, lifted it up and fucking poured it in and all that kind of shit. But the big bench is like 11 meters long. It has 2 cracks in it now, which is not too bad. And that I thought we were going to run out. We actually could have fucking maybe done an extra 5 bags in there.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah. To get it smooth and flat. Just how like the bar is in the freestanding, because if you see it, it's a bit wavy.
It's a little bit wavy.
But we made it happen. I was like, holy shit, I can't believe we've done it.
Because we were doing that at like 9 or 10 p.m. It was late, so everything was shut.
And we had like just a floodlight.
Yeah. And I think we were looking at it, and the issue with that, with concrete, is you can't, like, if we had left it till the next morning, then come back in and topped it up, it would have had weird colour and it would have cracked and it would have looked weird. So we were sitting there kind of stressing out. It's been like, I don't know if we're going to have enough, but we just had enough to get it good.
To where we were at, yeah. And I was just like, fuck it. Like, it is what it is. It's a story and it works. Yeah. It is what it is. What did we move on to after? We started, once it dried, we ended up plastering then, didn't we?
I think we did plastering, yeah.
Yeah, we plastered underneath. Sucked. I don't really want to talk too much about plastering. It was the shittest thing ever. Plastered the walls, all that kind of stuff. Painted. Maddie, Jacob's girlfriting, helped us out with a bit of painting.
Yeah, she
did. It was nice. Painting. It's not really that exciting, all that kind of shit. It was pretty fucking filthy.
Yeah.
Painting, plastering, it's not really that exciting. What did we move on to? Okay, in the meantime, we're talking about getting the bar done.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. And that's when that process took about 2 months to get the bar actually from discussing it to getting it built. This is probably the most expensive thing we bought. We could have literally bought a brand new fucking car with it. Like, not a shitty brand new car, like a decent car. Like, you know, maybe like $25,000 car. Mm-hmm. Quite literally $25,000 fucking dollars for this bar.
For just the bar. The bar section is made up of a bit more money than that as well.
So the bar itself, including fridges and the custom made bar and all that kind of shit, is $20,000. Mm-hmm. Like $19,998. Like, literally.
Which sounds ridiculous. But
I mean, it's fucking worth it.
It is very nice.
Shit. It looks fucking, like, we haven't even used its potential.
No.
Like, it's got so much potential.
Yeah.
Of course, you got the concrete bench tops, which cost like $1,000, $1,500, and then you've got the flooring. We had to get that flooring done. We'll quickly touch on the bar. We had someone that helped us a lot. Hugely. And shout out to you, Anthony Stamos, if you are listening to this or want to listen to it. He's the man. Like, he, of course, helped us design it and kind of measure things out and give us pointers. And like,
he saved our ass.
Yeah, the dude was like a chef. So like, that's the reason why he was even it was going back to when we had the plumbing. He's just like, you need, because when we get the plumbing, he was the reason why we got the floor wastage, because you need the floor wastage.
Yeah.
Because if you have the health inspector come in, he's like, box out all the, you got to cap off all the fucking all the electrical and the plumbing and stuff like that, which we didn't do 2 spots, but here's what it is. Still looks pretty clean. He was like, yo, you want this place to look fucking pristine, even to the point where he's just like, you can't even have concrete on like.
Yeah, we're gonna have exposed pipes, exposed concrete
above a food prep area. Exactly right. So that's the reason why we ended up getting like a false roof built.
Yeah.
So yeah, he helped us out a lot, and once the bar went in, man, it was they only took like 4 hours to install, not even 3 hours.
Yeah, it was all built externally, so it's like the fridge was delivered separately, which is a big 3-door fridge with a food prep well.
Yeah.
And then there's the custom stainless steel bench, the dishwasher, the ice machine, and then there's custom like shelves, cabinets, massive sink for washing up, and then a hand wash sink. And again, it's just like we needed the roof to be covered, no exposed pipes or lights, we had to, the vinyl floor wraps all the way up the wall, so it's all waterproof. The corner had to be tiled because it's the wash up area.
Yeah. Which we ended up doing ourselves.
Yeah, tiled splashback, which we did as well.
Yeah, because we learned how to do that shit from the private studio, which is cool. So we took our time, and it actually came out pretty cool.
Yeah, cool. And it's legit. And that was the one thing that Anthony said. He's like, look, it's an investment and you want it to look good. So it's the first thing people see when they come in, when they walk past, or when they're getting a coffee. It's there, and it's a statement. It was just a very fucking expensive statement.
Very expensive.
It was pretty disgusting sending that money away, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's worth it though. At the end of the day, as you said, we haven't even used it to full potential once we get our bar license, once we discuss and what we're going to release for the cafe area and stuff like that. We do sandwiches now, of course, so we're getting use out of the prep wells, and we could get even more use out of them by doing more turnover, or even just different sandwiches and stuff like that. That was the biggest expense, and that was hectic. It was really cool. So as you can probably see already, from the plumbing and the bar, we've spent about $36,000 from the plumbing and the bar. We had electrical, right? And that was a cost, It was about $5,000. No, $6,000.
Yeah.
We did get helped out. We did get a bit of help out, and that's Raz, my man Raz, his company.
I know what it is, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. What is that?
Razman Connections. Legit.
They deserve a shout out. They were legends.
Yeah, they were so good. So that's when they got the bar built. Tiles as well. Shout out to Lewis. LJ Hooker. But yeah. So yeah, that's there was definitely a lot more that went into it, driving down to Sydney, picking up the chairs and
all the chairs.
What else did we do? We did heaps of other shit. But I think without going too much into it, let's get onto these. We've got a couple of Q&A questions. I don't want to drag this on for fucking years, but a lot went on. A lot went on with the shop, and but we got it. We got it done.
Yeah.
We got it done for sure. What I was going to say is let's not drag this podcast on for too long. Let's get some these Q&A questions done. And then if you want to keep following us, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Thank you. Subscribe to this podcast. And keep an eye out for that build series, because there's a lot of shit that we haven't touched on that we actually documented.
Yeah. Within all of those little things, there was so many little other battles that just took ages.
Yeah.
We're going to Bunnings once every...
Oh man, I'm so
probably
glad.
Once a day, sometimes twice or 3 times a day.
I'm glad that we never go back to Bunnings much now.
Fuck that place. Great place, but fuck that place.
Yeah. This shop was built by Bunnings.
Yeah. It's just there's struggles with that, struggles with money, struggles with us not understanding what we were doing and doing things wrong and then having to redo it. There's just so many little battles within each of it. Which is all shown in that. We documented literally everything. So that'd be sick. I'm keen to watch that too, because there's a lot of stuff.
So am I. We're going to release it over the next, look, I haven't got a plan I've got to put it together. We've definitely got footage on different cameras and stuff like that. But we will do that and you can check it out. We've got some questions. Have you got questions on the top of your head?
Got a couple. One of them was, where are we? All right. Cool. So one was, where do you see Civitas in 5 years? That's from Jono. Shout out Jono.
Jono, brother.
Every week. What a legend.
What do you see? We'll go you and then me.
All right.
Let's see if we're on the same page.
So Civitas itself
Yeah, we are Civitas,
Yeah.
the brand.
Yeah, the company that oversees everything. It's just like there's literally no. It's everything. It's not when I don't want to be we don't want to be boxed into just being this.
Yeah.
I'd love to have multiple stores of this dropped in other locations.
Yeah.
That aren't local.
Yeah.
Which obviously involves building this up a lot. So I think like this pumping and then really having our packages going, our bar going, and dropping that elsewhere.
Systems and procedures,
Yeah.
Really nailing that process. So then when we do copy and paste, it's literally like here's the handbook of how to run this shop.
And we've already started that with everything, with accounting and bookkeeping and all of the back end stuff has been set up from day one to be full on legit.
Yeah, which is just quick little advice on any business people out there. Invest in bookkeepers and
massive.
Like a group. Like if you want someone good, message us because we have a group of people that really look up. We've saved so much money already.
Exactly.
Like of course we're not going to buy jet skis this week, which I can't wait till she says, "Okay, you can buy a jet ski."
Yeah.
I mean, I'll buy dirt bikes.
Yeah.
But literally every day they have been on our back about getting systems set up so that it becomes just a regular thing. Investing in that for sure.
And it sucks. Like it's the last thing that it is a full-time job to be doing that.
Yeah.
And making sure you're doing it right rather than just being like just kind of lightly spreading it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out Anya.
Anya.
She's a G.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's Russian or Ukrainian. She's mad.
Yeah, she's a legend. She's a certified gangster.
She's a gangster.
So multiple stores.
I'm gonna say she runs the business, man.
She pretty much does.
When she calls me, I'm like, she's my boss.
Yeah, she feels like the
100%.
boss.
She kind of feels like my boss, which I kind of like because
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'll do whatever she says.
Yeah.
And I'll put my trust in her.
Yeah.
So 5 years, multiple stores.
I want clothing to be its full on Civitas clothing to be doing its thing.
Yeah.
What else? There's a few other aspects that I don't know if you want to touch on at the moment, but there's a few other little things that we really want to work on that I want to get set up. That feed into the barber stuff.
Yep, definitely. That I think long term that's going to be a thing, just because we need the right team.
Yeah.
Especially barbering, like we're trying to solve a problem that is continuously happening is in the barber world. There's just not enough quality barbers, and it's just
we're in a bit of a weird limbo stage. I think like everyone, we hear it all the time, whenever people come in, they're like, "Oh, barbershops are really like taking off recently."
It's like, no,
this is literally the start of barbering in Australia. You only have to look at England and America and see what they're doing to realize that we are just fish in the pond. Like it's going to get huge.
Nothing, man.
Which is why this is here to preemptively set that up.
But we're trying to like even figure out thinking in the back minds of like, okay, how can we cater and make it efficient? How do we get barbers to get to levels where they're not just in cutting hair in a shop where it's like in and out. Actually getting them to become a personality within themselves, like become, when there's barbershops, especially in America or England, all the barbers are pretty much known like as individual characters of the shop. And that's how any kind of business should be run, is getting people like, and that's how brand and all that kind of stuff, as I've experienced, is getting people like to be personally known will definitely just help business, but also help reputation and brand, and like getting especially with barbering, getting clientele in back and back. Because of course you've got hair, like haircut's a thing, but at the same time to enhance that experience, you've got to just bring that value. I was going to say, we've got the creative thing as well.
Creative, I'm stoked on. I think creative is a massive.
That's 100%. The Civitas creative, it's kind of cool because in a way it's like we both do, like Jacob and I are part of Civitas creative, and of course like anything we do Civitas, him and I together, but at the same time it's kind of like he's clothing, I'm creative, but we work on it together. Yeah. Does that make sense? Like it's course like
because that's where both of our passions lie outside of cutting hair.
Exactly right. Yeah. Of course, Jacob's not a videographer or a photographer, but he still appreciates what we do there. And of course, we discuss ideas of how we can build that like team up, all that kind of stuff. And then the same with clothing. It's like I don't know how to design clothing. Jacob has that skill in that, but there's things that I can add value to, you know, in his department there as well. And of course we build it together, not just being like, okay, it's Jacob singing, he does his sing and I'm doing the thing, blah, blah, blah. And I think the biggest thing as well that we want to focus on over the next 5 years, over the next year, is this podcast, 100%, regularly, and our YouTube content.
Yeah, content.
Content and telling the fucking story, because we want to just be known more than just being a barbershop or more being just a venue or a clothing company or something like that. We want to be able to we want to use all that clothing, creative stuff, like our videography, photography, all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna stop saying barbershop. Our venue, they're vehicles to really push the message that we're trying to push, which Civitas is community, and it's just providing value and experiences to all humans, pretty much.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is it's all of this is just to provide that value. And things like when we had our opening night, that's what really, and it was the same as when we did the 24-hour challenge and the TPS Fridays and stuff like that. Seeing people use and utilize the space that we've created the way that we intended is by far the biggest positive of all of this.
Yeah.
And that was always the thing from day one, was the community, Civitas.
Yeah.
That's why it's the name. It was like our biggest goal is to create a community and give that value to people, and all of that through clothing and through the creative and through the shop is allowing people to utilize that. And that's where we get our satisfaction.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's another part of the content and that sort of thing. It's just reaching ourselves outside of this little bubble on the coast.
Yeah, for sure. And we want to communicate that. Of course, we're not actually chasing the money. Of course, we've got to have money to run a successful business, but I would rather be able to get the company to a point where it's running healthy, and be on a $40,000-$50,000 wage a year. Just being able to go camping with my daughter and stuff like that, because we built something.
Well, it's the same as with coming from the studio. The money is just a vehicle to further that message, and that's why we reinvested into this. And then there's little things that we're slowly starting to make money again, that we're reinvesting in to just push that message further and further. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're not really, there's people that we've resonated with, people that have made successful businesses, people that, we look up to, and all of them say, we'll keep reinvesting in businesses. Yes. Even local dudes as well. There's someone, Scott Madden.
Scott, legend dude.
We super massive inspiration to us. And Jacob and I even discussed, he put something up the other day, it's just keep reinvesting your money, because you're not going to get any kind of profit. And it's not that, I'm not talking about business right now in the fucking way of profit margin, blah, blah, but our main priority is not to make $100 million a year. Our main priority is to just give the best experience possible and the most value as we possibly can. Even with the sandwiches, for instance, I don't even know how much money I'm spending on making those.
I've got no clue either.
I bought $100 worth of shit. I'm going to sell them for $12. Made 10 sandwiches. Sweet, we'll make $20 off it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's I'm buying a big jar of something that could last us 2 weeks. And I just don't give a fuck about that. I'm just trying to add value to people's lives. And look, at the end of the day, it might be the wrong thing to do, but at the same time, I don't want to get hung up in, doing shit. Anyway, we've got a bit sidetracked. What other question we got?
Where are we? Do we need to reset the camera at all, or are we sweet?
No, we're sweet, bro.
Chilling.
Oh, hang on. I don't think I was recording. All right, looks like this is going to be an audio.
Don't worry about it.
Well, actually, no, what I'll do is I'll cut that, and at the end of it, be listen to the whole thing on
all right, let's do
Spotify.
that.
See, just roll the fucking punches.
Just doing it.
We're just of course, it's going to be fucking stress. I better turn the camera off then.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it, you piece of shit.
Fuck.
It's annoying.
What was the hardest obstacle to overcome in the planning? And that was from Keelan Smith. He's also a legend.
Planning.
In the planning of the shop, I think, I don't know, the hardest thing to overcome.
Talking to solicitors.
Yeah, that sucked. Reading the stupid lease thing and random ass gibberish.
It was kind of like I read it and then translated it as best I could to Jacob, and then he was like, "Okay, sweet," and I was like, I still don't get it.
It's the stuff that I think in a general sense, it was the feeling like we were kind of like in over our heads in a way, I guess. Like it was more the mental side of not really fully understanding that stuff like that and being like, what is going on? I don't understand how to read lawyer stuff.
Yeah, because they fucking word it in so many shitty ways.
And it's like, it wasn't necessarily just the lawyer part of it, but I think it was like having to overcome that thought of like, okay, well, this is a bit too hard. I don't know what's going on. How do we understand this? So on and so forth.
Yeah.
That it was hard to kind of like pull ourselves out of that and be like, no, we can fucking do it.
Yeah.
Even though we don't get it, it's just going to take us a little bit longer to understand it. But now that we have.
But even now, like I feel like myself in confidence is Jacob and I, being straight out there, we communicate quite well in the way that we just rely on. Is that an important message?
Yeah. Here in a sec.
Okay, sweet, cool. We're going to wrap this up in a second. So we say like we've just really betted on our strength, and Jacob and I understand that's why we move so quick, is because it's not like I'm not expecting Jacob to do stuff. Like we have our roles, we have our strengths. You know what I mean? Like I actually quite enjoy the lawyer and that the talk with solicitors and the bookkeepers and stuff like that. I'm not saying Jacob's not gonna do that, but at the same time, it's like we had to come to an agreement, like understanding that, I'm gonna do this. I'll do this. I'll take care of this. I'll keep you updated with everything, and I'll communicate with you. But at the same time, you don't need to stress about this. Just let me do this, because it's what I love to do. And Jacob does his thing, like especially with clothing or even like just helping, just running the shop. You know, it's it just works. Like we just had this formula down. Okay, so we have. Well, did we answer that question? I think so. Okay, so we'll smash them out real quick. I've got 2 questions here. Someone said K, I think it is KAI. What did you initially envision for Civitas as a whole, and had that changed at all? No. It did not change, but it was more than I expected. Like in the way that when we saw the shop, and especially the opening, it was so much better than I expected. Yeah. Everything is how it was, but now it's on steroids. Yeah. We executed, like it wasn't like, because of the private studio, when I did that, or when we did that, I expected actually something different. Yeah. I expected something, and when we got there, we kind of adapted and molded, but now it's kind of like we did this vision. And the last one is, how the fuck did you get so much done? We just fucking did it.
Yeah, we're like coming in here in the morning, doing stuff, working at the studio from 10 till 8, and then coming back in here and working from 8 till midnight, just smashing it out.
Smashing it.
Yeah, it was just beyond that, like, because we knew we had to get it done, it wasn't really a case of like, we felt exhausted, but it just had to be done. There was no ifs or buts about it. It just had to be finished, and because we were so passionate about it, it didn't feel like we were dragging ourselves there to do it. It was just, there was no option but to just finish it. Yeah. So we did.
And we got it done. We're practitioners, man. Look, not to race, not to run, but we got to get going. We've got a fun little meeting. So thank you for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe. Wait, it's not being filmed. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast. We're going to fucking try and post one a week. Yeah. One a week. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to be consistent with it. We're going to fucking figure it out. Yeah, fucking see ya.